In a quiet village nestled among the golden hills of ancient India, there lived a woman named Kisa Gotami. Her days were simple but full of love. She had a husband, a home, and a precious baby boy who brought light into her life. Every morning she would smile as the first rays of dawn touched her child's face, believing that joy would last forever. But one fateful day, that light was extinguished. Her child fell ill, and despite all her desperate prayers and remedies, he took his final breath in her arms. The stillness that followed was unbearable. She could not accept it. She refused to. In her heart, the world could not be so cruel. Holding her lifeless son close, she went from house to house, pleading, "Please, someone help me. My child is sick, and give me medicine to make him live again." Some pitied her. Others turned away in sorrow. The village whispered her name with compassion, but no one could help. Her love had become her madness, and her grief blinded her to the truth that all beings must face, the truth of impermanence. Kisa wandered endlessly, her child's body wrapped in her shawl, clutched to her chest as though warmth could bring him back. Dust coated her feet, but her faith in finding a cure burned fiercely. One kind man, unable to bear her suffering, gently said, "Sister, there is one who might help you. Go to the Buddha, the awakened one. He has medicine for all kinds of suffering." A flicker of hope sparked in her eyes. Without hesitation, she made her way to the monastery. When she found the Buddha sitting in stillness beneath a Bodhi tree, she fell at his feet. "Blessed One," she cried, "my child has died. Please, I beg you, and give me medicine to bring him back." The Buddha looked at her with eyes full of compassion. He did not speak of death or permanence. Instead, he said softly, "Go into the village, dear one. Bring me a handful of mustard seeds. But they must come from a household where no one has ever died." Her heart leapt with renewed purpose. Surely, she thought, in so many homes, there must be one untouched by death. She rose, bowed deeply, and ran back toward the village, clutching her child tighter than ever. She believed salvation was finally within reach. Kisa went straight to the nearest house and knocked eagerly. A woman opened the door, surprised to see her disheveled neighbor. "Sister," Kisa pleaded, "please give me a few mustard seeds for my child. The Buddha has asked for them, but only from a home where no one has died." The woman's expression softened, but her voice trembled. Sister, I would give you 1,000 mustard seeds, but my husband passed away last year." Kisa's heart sank. Still, she thanked the woman and moved to the next house. Again, she repeated her plea. The old man at the door nodded sadly. "We lost our daughter last spring." At every door, she was met with compassion and sorrow. Some spoke of fathers gone, others of children lost, wives buried, brothers remembered. Each house was a mirror reflecting her own pain back at her. As the sun began to sink, her steps grew slower. Her hope began to dim. The mustard seeds she gathered meant nothing. Every handful came with a story of death. And with each story, her illusion of being alone in suffering began to break apart. The village that had seemed so full of life was now revealed as a place woven with loss, yet bound by love and memory. By nightfall, Kisa sat by the roadside, her bundle heavy in her lap. The air was still. All around her, lamps flickered in the homes of those who, too, had lost someone they loved. She finally understood. There was no house untouched by death. No mother who had not cried, no heart that had not broken. Suffering was not hers alone. It was the thread that bound all human lives together. Tears streamed down her face, not from despair, but from awakening. She whispered to her child, "I see now, my little one. Even you were not mine to keep forever. Everything that is born must die." With trembling hands, she rose and walked toward the forest. The moon lit her path as she carried her son one last time. By a quiet riverbank, she dug a small grave with her hands and laid him down gently. She covered him with earth, her heart breaking and healing at once. In the silence of that moment, something within her shifted. Her clinging turned into release. Her pain became understanding. The woman who had come to the Buddha begging for medicine was no longer the same. She was ready to return, not as a grieving mother, but as a seeker of truth. When Kisa returned to the Buddha, the dawn was rising over the hills. Her face was calm, though her eyes were wet with tears that no longer burned. She bowed deeply before him and said, "Lord, I could not find a house untouched by death. Everywhere I went, I heard only stories of loss. The Buddha looked at her with infinite kindness and replied, Kisa Gotami, you have now found the medicine you sought. She was silent, confused for a moment, then understood. The mustard seed was never meant to heal her child. It was meant to heal her mind. The life of mortals, dear one, the Buddha continued, is like the dew on the grass at dawn. It glitters for a moment and then vanishes with the morning sun. All beings that are born must someday die. Understanding this truth brings peace. Kisa bowed again, tears of gratitude falling to the earth. For the first time, she did not beg to change reality. She accepted it. In that acceptance, her suffering transformed into wisdom. That day, she asked to become a disciple of the Buddha. Her journey from grief to enlightenment had begun. The Buddha often taught that impermanence, anicca, is one of the three universal truths. Everything that exists is in constant change. Nothing, not even love or sorrow, lasts forever. Kisa's experience became a living lesson of that truth. Through her suffering, she saw how attachment causes pain. When we cling to what must pass, we resist the natural flow of life. Yet when we accept impermanence, we find peace even amid loss. The mustard seed story became more than a tale of grief. It became a mirror for humanity. Every listener, upon hearing it, was reminded of their own attachments to people, possessions, dreams. The story whispered, do not grasp too tightly. What you hold will one day fade. But this is not a story of despair. It is one of liberation. For when we truly see that everything changes, we stop fearing change itself. Instead of mourning what ends, we cherish what is. Kisa's heart, once heavy with sorrow, became light with compassion. In understanding her pain, she could now understand the suffering of others. The woman who once begged for her child's life began to comfort those who grieved. Her loss became her awakening. Years later, disciples would see Kisa Gotami sitting quietly by the river where she had buried her son. She would watch the water flow endlessly, reflecting the sky. One of the younger monks asked, Sister, do you not feel sorrow when you come here? She smiled gently. The river teaches me what I once refused to see. It flows without holding on to its drops. Each one comes, stays for a while, then goes on. Life is the same. The monk bowed, humbled by her wisdom. She continued, when I tried to hold my child forever, I suffered. But now I see, love does not end when form ends. It changes shape, like water taking new paths. The lesson of impermanence is not to stop loving, but to love without clinging. Her words carried the quiet strength of one who had faced the deepest pain and emerged free. The river murmured beside her, endless and calm. Through Kisa's transformation, others learned that grief could be a gateway to awakening, that impermanence, far from being a curse, was the very rhythm of life. The story of Kisa Gotami spread across kingdoms and generations. Monks recited it in monasteries, travelers told it by firelight, and families whispered it to children as a lesson of the heart. It reminded everyone that suffering does not discriminate. Rich or poor, young or old, all must face the truth of change. Yet within that truth lies the key to freedom. The Buddha's teaching was simple, yet profound. When we see impermanence clearly, we awaken compassion. We realize that everyone we meet carries invisible sorrows. No one is untouched by loss. This awareness softens our hearts and opens our hands. In temples and villages alike, people began to plant mustard seeds not as medicine, but as symbols, reminders that all life blooms and withers. To see a field of golden mustard was to remember that beauty and transience walk hand in hand. Kisa Gotami became a revered nun, teaching others the Dharma with gentleness born from her own awakening. Her story was not of tragedy, but of transformation, of how grief, when understood, becomes wisdom. Though centuries have passed, Kisa Gotami's story still speaks to our hearts today. In a world rushing forward, full of loss, change, and uncertainty, her journey feels timeless. We too hold tightly to what we love, our families, our youth, our dreams. And when they slip away, we feel broken, just as she did. Yet the lesson remains the same. Nothing is permanent, and that is what makes life precious. Each sunrise is unique because it will never come again. Each smile, each breath, each act of kindness, all are fleeting and therefore sacred. When we embrace impermanence, we stop fighting life. We begin to flow with it. Grief becomes gratitude. Endings become beginnings. If you've ever lost someone you loved, know that your pain connects you to the human story, the same story Kisa lived, the same truth the Buddha revealed. Impermanence is not the enemy of love. It is what gives love its meaning. So the next time you see a mustard seed, small, golden, fragile, remember the lesson it carries. The mustard seed story is not only about death, it is about awakening to life as it truly is. Kisa Gotami's journey reminds us that every joy, every sorrow, and every heartbeat is part of an ever-changing dance. To resist change is to suffer. To accept it is to find peace. When you lose something or someone, let your heart feel the pain, but also let it open. Let it teach you what Kisa learned, that love and loss are not opposites but companions. As the Buddha said, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. May we all learn to live with gentle awareness, cherishing the moments we are given, knowing they will not last. And that this impermanence is not tragedy, but truth. The next time you grieve, remember Kisa Gotami walking through her village with her child in her arms. Remember the mustard seeds that showed her what no sermon could. Remember that everything changes, and that within that change lies freedom. Let go. Love fully. Live wisely.